Okay, here's our Chapter 5 test review. First two problems are finding the slope. Remember to find the slope, use the slope formula, m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So every time you're asked to find the slope, take your points and label them. So x1 and y1 above your first point, x2 and y2 above your second point. And we just plug in the numbers. M equals y2 negative 4 minus y1, which is 5, divided by x2, 8, minus x1, a negative 2. Now simplify. Negative 4 minus 5 is negative 9. Two negatives become a positive, so over 10, and that can't be simplified, so that's our answer. The second one, same thing, x1 and y1, x2 and y2, and plug in the points. M equals 4 minus 7 over 2 minus 6. So the slope equals 4 minus 7, which is negative 3, over 2 minus 6 is negative 4. So this can be simplified because we know a negative divided by negative is a positive. So 3 over 4. Okay, now remember, if you find the slope and you get 8 over 10 to simplify, right? Always in simplest form, so divide by 2. So this one would be 4 over 5. If you get a slope of 0 over a number like 5, remember this equals 0. If you get like 7 divided by 0, that's undefined. Okay. Find the slope of the line given the graph. Anytime you use a graph, we use rise over run. So pick any 2 points. I like to trace the line and find 2 points that are close together. So here's a point. Here's a point. So this one is going down. When we go down, that's a negative 2 over 1. So our slope is negative 2 over 1. Simplified as just negative 2. Write equation in slope-intercept form for the graph. Anytime I ask you to write an equation, you need to write the equation. Y equals mx plus b, and then m equals and b equals. M is the slope. We just did one on the last page. Slope of a graph is rise over run. Anytime you find the slope of a graph, we use rise over run. So find 2 points. This one we go up 1 over 3. 1, 2, 3. So your slope is 1 over 3. The y-intercept, B, is where the line crosses the y-axis. So here's where the line crosses the y-axis. That is up at 1. Now we write our equation. Y equals 1 over 3x plus 1. Find the slope. So again, finding the slope, anytime we're given a graph, rise over run. So pick any 2 points. So here's a point, here's a point. So m equals rise, we go up 1 over 0. This can be simplified. Remember, 1 divided by 0, 1 divided by 0 is undefined. What is the slope of all horizontal lines? So this is a problem if you forget. Remember, horizontal lines are lines that go across our paper. So here's a horizontal line. If you think about points on that line, here's a point, here's a point. And if you use rise over run, again, anytime you have slope of a line, you can use rise over run. So this would be up 0 over 1. 0 divided by 1 is 0. So the slope of every horizontal line will always be 0. Vertical lines are lines that go straight up and down. So again, if you think of points on the line and you use rise over run, we go up 1 over 0. And we learned on the last page, we reviewed that 1 divided by 0 is undefined. Every vertical line has a slope of undefined. Okay, write an equation. Again, anytime it says write an equation, we should write y equals mx plus b, m equals, and b equals. This particular problem tells us the slope is -4, y-intercept is 11, so y equals -4x plus 11. Write an equation of a line that passes through the given point and has the given slope. So again, anytime you're asked to write an equation, y equals mx plus b, m equals, and b equals. So this one, it gives us the slope of 1 over 5. B, we would know the y-intercept if the x is 0, so now we have to use this point. This point has an x and a y. The x is 10, the y is 1. So we are going to use our equation, y equals mx plus b, and solve for b. So instead of y, we plug in 1. Instead of m, 1/5 times x, x is 10, plus b. So 1 equals, to multiply fractions, you can have both of them as a fraction, and you can cross cancel. 5 goes into 10 2 times. So now there's no more fractions because 1's are on the bottom. 1 times 2 is 2, plus b. And to get b by itself, we're going to subtract 2. -1 equals b. And now we can write an equation. Y equals 1 over 5x minus 1. Okay, same directions. Anytime it says write an equation, we always are going to write y equals mx plus b, m equals, and b equals. This one, slope is -5. We look at the point. The point is -9, 8. So that's an x and a y. The x is -9. The y is 8. So now we use y equals mx plus b, and we solve for b. So instead of y, we plug in 8 equals m, -5, times x, which is -9, plus b. So 8 equals a positive 45 plus b. Solve for b by subtracting 45 on both sides. -37 equals b. So we write our equation. Y equals -5x minus 37. Write an equation of a line that passes through the 2 points. So every time you write an equation, we put y equals mx plus b, m equals, and b equals. So for this problem, we're given 2 points. So to find the slope through 2 points, we use the slope formula. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So above these points, we should write x1 and y1, x2 and y2. So m equals y2, -8, minus y1, which is 2, over x2, 2, minus x1, which is a -2. -8 minus 2 is -10, divided by 2 minus a negative is a plus. 2 plus 2 is 4, and we simplify to -5 over 2. So that's our slope. Now to find the y-intercept, we use these points. Pick one of the points. So if I pick this point, it has an x that is -2, and it has a y value that is +2. And we're going to plug them into y equals mx plus b. So instead of y, we plug in 2. Our slope we found, which was -5 over 2, times x, a -2, plus b. Again, I'm going to write this one as a fraction because we have to multiply fractions. So now to multiply, 2 equals, when we cross cancel, 2 and 2 cross out, and a negative times a negative is a positive, so we have 5 plus b. To undo a +5, we subtract it, so our y-intercept is -3. So we found the slope using the slope formula. We found the y-intercept by using the slope and plugging in one of the points. So our answer is y equals negative 5 over 2x minus 3. Okay, find the slope and the y-intercept. So if your equation is in the form y equals mx plus b, we can identify m and b. So this one says y equals, so the slope is 6, the y-intercept is 8. Now this one is not in the form of y equals mx plus b, so we have to get y equals. So we have to solve for y. So we have to move this 3x the other side, so opposite of a positive is a negative. Crosses out, so we have 4y equals. We can't combine these are not like terms, so negative 3x minus 24. And to undo a times 4, we're going to divide both sides, so everything gets divided by 4. Y equals, we leave this as a fraction, negative 3 over 4, x minus 6. Once we get y equals, then we can identify the slope and the y-intercept like the question asks. So slope is negative 3 over 4, and the y-intercept negative 6. Okay, same type of problem. Again, find the slope and y-intercept. We have y equals, so we can put m and b equals. So m is negative 3/4, b is negative 8. Okay, another one, writing an equation. Write an equation through these 2 points. Anytime we write an equation, y equals mx plus b, m equals and b equals. So for this one, again, we're going to have to use the slope formula. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So x1 and y1, x2 and y2. M equals y2 is 0 minus y1, a negative 7, over x2, which is negative 1, minus x1, which is 0. Two negatives become a positive. 0 plus 7 is 7. And negative 1 minus 0 is negative 1. And we simplify 7 over negative 1 is negative 7. Okay. Now, to find the y-intercept, we use both of the points. We pick one of them. So, looking at these points, we have an x-coordinate of 0. Remember, when x equals 0, the y value is the y-intercept, which is b. So that means, since x is 0, negative 7 for this one is also the y-intercept. So we can write our equation. Y equals negative 7x minus 7. Okay, a graph. This one we're going to graph using slope and y-intercept, and I'll ask you that on the test. So the slope is 2. Since we're graphing, we're going to write it as a fraction, 2 over 1. The y-intercept is negative 3. When you graph, we start our graph at the y-intercept. So we go on the y-axis to negative 3, we put a point. Now the slope is positive, so that means we're going to go up, and then we always go right. So from this point, we go up 1, 2, right 1, put a point. Up 1, 2, go right 1, put a point. Up 1, 2, right 1. We can do this as many times as we want, and then we always finish by drawing a line. Every one of the points will be on our line. Let's get it to be a solid. There we go. Okay. Now this one, we can't graph because it does not say y equals. So we have to move this negative 8. So we're going to add 8 on both sides. So it crosses out, we get y equals. Now over here, this 8 can be combined with the negative 4 because they're like terms. So we don't do anything with this x. So we leave negative 2 over 5x, and negative 4 plus 8 is a positive 4. So now we're going to put m equals and b equals, and the slope this time is negative 2 over 5. Y-intercept of 4. To graph, we always start at our y-intercept b, so we're going to go on the y-axis again to 4 and put a point. From 4, we use the slope. It's negative, so that means we're going to go down, and again, we always go right. I put 2 R's by accident. So we're going to go down 1, 2, right 5, put a point. Down 2, right 5, and then draw our line. Okay, write an equation of a horizontal line. Remember, horizontal lines are lines that go across our paper. They have a special type of line. They have a special type of equation. So this equation only has one of the variables, and that variable is y. So y equals some number. So when it asks you this question on the test, you should put y equals some number like 2, or y equals 5. Y equals any number is your answer. Vertical line. Same type of thing. It's a special type of line. It's straight up and down. So again, this has only one variable. It's x. So x equals some number. So x equals 3. Or x equals 7. Whatever it is. X equals some number is the equation of a vertical line. This one, find the x and the y-intercepts for the equation. So to find the x-intercept, that means we have y equals 0. So we take our equation and we start writing 4x minus 3, and instead of y, we replace it with 0, equals 12. And negative 3 times 0 is 0, so we cross it out and we're left with 4x equals 12. We divide by 4, and our x-intercept is 3. Then to find the y-intercept, we do the same thing, but we plug in 0 for x. So now we take the equation, and where we see x, we plug in 0, and we solve. So again, 4 times 0 crosses out. We're left with negative 3y equals 12. To undo times negative 3, we're going to divide, and our y-intercept is a negative 4. I'm going to ask you to graph finding intercepts. So the x-intercept, all we do is we go on the x-axis to this number. So go to the x of 5, put a point. The y-intercept, we go on the y-axis to negative 2, put a point, and then we just draw a line. And that's our graph. Now if I ask you to graph by finding the intercepts, that means I want you to first find the x-intercept. That means y equals 0. So again, we take our equation and we have negative x plus 3 times 0 equals 9. So 3 times 0 crosses out. Negative x equals 9. X is not by itself yet, so we have to divide by a negative 1. And our x-intercept is negative 9. So that means we go on the x-axis and put a point at negative 9. This is on the x. Then we go to find the y-intercept. Same thing, but this is when x equals 0. So we have negative, and then instead of x, we plug in 0, plus 3y equals 9. The 0 crosses out, so we divide both sides by 3. And our y-intercept is 3. So those are two answers for the problem, and now we plot the points. So on the y-axis, we go to 3, and then we draw the line, and that's all we do for the graph. Okay. Graph x equals 6. So again, remember we just talked about when there's only one variable, it's a special line. It's either a horizontal line or a vertical line. So this one says one thing. It tells us x equals 6. So we go on the x-axis to 6 and we put a point. Now we only need 2 points to draw a line. Again, this equation tells us one thing. It tells us the x is 6 every time. So it doesn't matter what the y is. We're going to go over 6 and we put a point somewhere over here. So I like to just use the point, the number same, the 6 both times. So over 6, up 6. And to connect these dots, we have a vertical line. Everywhere on this line, one thing is true. The x coordinate is 6. Over 6, up 2. Over 6, up 4. Over 6, down 1. Everywhere on the line, x equals 6. Here we have another special type of line, only one variable, this time only y. So we're going to go on the y-axis to -4. Again, you need a second point to draw a line, or you just remember that this is a horizontal line. This equation tells us one thing. It tells us the y is -4 every time, so the y equals -4. It doesn't matter what the x is. Again, I like to use that same number, -4, -4. To connect these dots, we draw a line straight across our paper, and it's a horizontal line. Okay, only a couple left. Last two things are parallel and perpendicular lines. So, write an equation in slope-intercept form that a line is parallel to this line and it goes through this point. So we're writing an equation for a parallel line, which is y equals mx plus b. And we need m equals and b equals. Now we learned a relationship of the slopes of parallel lines. The relationship is parallel lines have the same slope. So we look at this equation, and the slope of this line is 4. So anything that will be parallel to it will also have a slope of 4. So we're going to use 4 for our slope. Then we're going to use this point. The point has an x of -3 and a y of 5. We're going to use our equation of y equals mx plus b to find our y-intercept. So instead of y, we plug in 5 equals m, which is 4, times x, -3, plus b. 5 equals -12 plus b, and to move a -12, we add 12. So 17 equals b. So we found the slope knowing that parallel lines have the same slope. We found the y-intercept by using the slope and a point on our line, and we can write our equation. Y equals 4x plus 17. Okay, this one says write an equation of a line that passes through the given point of -4, 2, and it's parallel to the given equation. So again, parallel lines, y equals mx plus b, m equals and b equals. So we just talked about the slopes of parallel lines have to be the same. We look at this equation and we do not know the slope yet because it does not say y equals. So we have to solve this for y by subtracting 5x. So now we have y equals -5x plus 8. So the slope of this given line is -5. Anything parallel to it will also have a slope of -5. So that's our slope. Then we're going to use the point. The point is an x-coordinate of -4, a y-coordinate of 2, and we use our equation, y equals mx plus b, and plug everything in. Y is 2. M is -5 times x. X is -4 plus b. So 2 equals -5 times -4 is 20 plus b, and to move 20 to the other side, we subtract 20. -18 equals b. So we found the slope. We found the slope by first solving the equation for y, so we could identify the slope of the given line, and we know parallel lines have the same slope. Then we found b by using the slope and plugging in the values from our point, and found our y-intercept. So we can write our answer. Y equals -5x minus 18. Okay, next one says write an equation of the line that passes through the given point of 4, negative 3, and it is perpendicular to the graph of y equals 1 over 7x minus 5. So, perpendicular line. The equation is y equals mx plus b. We need to know m equals and b equals. So we have a relationship of the slopes of perpendicular lines. We learn that perpendicular lines have opposite reciprocal slopes. So we look at the given line, and it has a slope of 1 over 7. So anything perpendicular to it will be the opposite of a positive, which is negative, and the reciprocal of 1 over 7, which is 7 over 1. That's our slope, negative 7. Now we're going to use the given point. The point is an x of 4 and a y of negative 3, and we use our equation, y equals mx plus b. We plug these numbers in. So instead of y, we plug in the negative 3 equals m, negative 7, times x, which is 4, plus b. Negative 3 equals negative 28, plus b. To move a negative 28, we're going to add it. So 25 equals b. And now we can write our equation. So for this one, we found the slope by knowing that slopes of perpendicular lines are opposite reciprocals. So the given slope was 1 over 7. So the opposite of a positive 1 over 7 is a negative 7 over 1. So we put negative 7. Then we found our y-intercept by plugging in the point, and we can write our answer. Y equals negative 7x plus 25. Okay, one more with perpendicular lines. Same thing. We're writing an equation of a perpendicular line, y equals mx plus b, m equals and b equals. Now for this one, we know perpendicular lines have opposite reciprocal slopes. So we look at the given line, and we do not know the slope. So we have to solve this equation, x plus 4y equals 12, and we have to get y by itself. So we have to move x, so we're going to subtract 1x from both sides. 4y equals the negative 1x plus 12, and then divide everything by 4. So y equals negative 1 over 4x plus 3. The only thing we need from this equation is its slope. The slope of this equation is a negative 1 over 4. So anything perpendicular to this will have an opposite reciprocal slope. The opposite of a negative is a positive. The reciprocal of 1 over 4 is 4 over 1. So there's our slope, a positive 4. Now we're going to use the point. We have an x of 7 and a y of 1. And now we plug them into our equation, y equals mx plus b, to find the y-intercept. So y is 1, m is 4 times x, 7, plus b. 1 equals 28 plus b. And to move a positive 28, we're going to subtract it. So our y-intercept is negative 27. So this one, to find the slope, we have to first find the slope of the given line by solving for y. It was negative 1 over 4. Then we got the opposite reciprocal, which was a positive 4. Then we found the y-intercept by plugging in our slope of 4 along with the given point. We can write our answer. Y equals 4x minus 27. Okay, last problem. This problem puts everything together from the whole review. So I'm going to give you a graph, and I'm going to ask you 4 questions from the graph. I'm going to ask you to find the slope, to find the x-intercept, to find the y-intercept, and then to write the equation. So to find the slope, anytime you have a graph, we're going to use rise over run. So for this one, I just like to use these points that you can see. So those are 2 points. So with this one, we go up 5 and then over 4. So the slope is up 5 over 4. We leave it as a fraction. It can't be simplified. The x-intercept. The x-intercept is where the graph crosses on the x-axis. So the x-intercept is 4. The y-intercept is where our line crosses the y-axis. This is the y-axis, and that is at -5. And now the last thing we have to do is write our equation. Our equation, we always write y equals mx plus b. So if we use this information, m is slope, so that means this up here is m. B is y-intercept, so this is our y-intercept. So our answer is y equals 5 over 4x minus 5. We don't do anything with the x-intercept for our equation. That's it. Good luck on the test.